And then another one, Jared Verse, real quick. Just after the Gator game, just listening to the press conference and Trey Benson and the relationship they have, not that, hey, we're friends and I can talk into staying, or let's both talk each other into staying. But Jared Verse, there's still some things to clean up, and that's something that Coach Pap has talked about throughout the entire season. There's some still technical things, and you would like to see him maybe be a bigger force in some of the bigger games. But, Jared Verse's raw abilities, I think, is what attracts the NFL and these scouts. I mean, salivating after him. But I think there's big-time things where he can work on, and you could see him in games where he's just kind of bull rushing, going off the edge and missing the run game. There's things overall that Verse can improve on for sure to make himself a first-rounder. I think right now he's great as around a second night kind of dude, but the raw abilities are there. I would take him in Pittsburgh in a heartbeat, but it just really depends on what Florida State can do to talk him into coming back for another season. I know they're doing that. I've been able to talk with a few sources. They'd like to keep him for another season, develop him. You would have him, Derek McLendon, along with Patrick Payton next year. That's an attractive defensive end room, definitely with the emergence and breakout year that we've seen Patrick Payton have, which I'm super excited for Payton in 2023. But Jared Verse is probably, I think, the one that's not the closest, if I were to make a personal opinion, of not staying. But I know Florida State is in the works of trying to bring back their star edge rusher.
Yeah, like I said earlier, you can make a case for him to stay. You can make a case for him to go. And, I hear what you're saying as far as making improvements as a player, doing more in big games. But it's like, does he try and make those improvements at Florida State, or does he make it whenever he's a first-round pick in the NFL and getting coached up at the professional level? It's a really tough choice for Verse. Logan, you were one of the first guys to really hop on that bandwagon over the offseason. I mean, man, it paid off in more of a way than I think any of us would have expected, with Verse going from, FCS, making that transition to the FBS, and now turning into a bona fide NFL draft prospect in less than a full season in Tallahassee. He's only been here since January. It's not even a year yet since he made that official transfer over to Florida State. And I mean, his stock has simply skyrocketed since the spring, since the summer, since the fall. And I mean, even now, we'll see what happens in the bowl game, depending on the performance he puts on against Oklahoma. That could also have a pretty big impact on him deciding to stay or go. If he really puts on a dominant performance in that bowl game, I could see him making the leap. Maybe if not, come back to Tallahassee. But NIL is going to play a pivotal factor in this one as well. And like you said, having him, McLendon, Payton back, you're bringing in Lamont Green Jr., Keldrick Falk, still committed as well. We'll see what Florida State does in the transfer portal. That defense in 2023, we're gonna see what happens over the next couple of weeks as far as a couple of these impact guys making decisions to stay or go. But we've seen the back half of this schedule, how good they can be, and they might be able to take it to another level in 2023 if they do get some of these guys back.
Verse has everything the NFL is looking for, though. He's got the size, he's got the length, he's got the athleticism. He's got the tape, especially this year. He was flying off the edges, especially early on in the season.
He's got the personality too.
And that was the next thing I was going to say, is the charisma. Like, it's a guy that commands the room every time he walks in. He's got a very alpha mentality, and that's something that's needed along the defensive line, especially in the NFL, going up against huge offensive linemen. It's not like he's going up against Duquesne every week in the NFL. He's a very, very talented player. If he's back next year, great. If not, there's still plenty of talent in that room that's coming in, and even still, they might take a transfer if he decides to leave. But you gotta like the way Coach Pap has developed that room.
Yeah, and at Florida State, they've got a lot to sell when it comes to defensive ends. Obviously, Jermaine Johnson, a first-round pick last year. Keir Thomas is still in the NFL right now as well, sticking around the practice squad for Los Angeles Rams. And then maybe with this one, you have another first-round defensive end transfer to pitch in Jared Verse. And then they've got a homegrown talent in Patrick Payton, who they recruit out of high school, who's now developed into the ACC Defensive Newcomer of the Year. I think that's the award. Rookie, but either way, a standout redshirt freshman season for Patrick Payton. Florida State, they're doing well when it comes to defensive ends. I think you've got to be confident with what Coach JP and that staff can do in the future as well.
You can also go to the league that you've already done too with Brian Burns and Josh Sweat. I mean, Florida State has turned into a powerhouse and developing and getting defensive ends into becoming stars over there. Josh Sweat having a monster season for the Philadelphia Eagles, one of the favorites to make a pretty decent run in the playoffs this upcoming year or this year. So there's going to be a lot of advertising that Florida State's going to be able to do no matter what Jared Verse ends up doing here. There's a lot to like in the room in the upcoming season for 2023. Definitely with Kedra Falk, who I really like. And then we've seen Lamont Green Jr. in person, D-Lou. The get off, the speed there is ridiculous. And, his dad, he's been working with his son for a very long time. This is a legacy commit. He's put on some size, and I don't think there's anything to worry about with what Josh Storms and the strength and conditioning coach, what they can do there with him, because the speed is already there. We've got that. That's done. That's something that you can't teach. That get off, you just can't teach. The styles and what he can do development. Technique-wise can be worked on with Coach Papp, and we've seen it. It's shown.
Both of those guys have the ability to contribute out of the gate, and I think it's really going to help that they should both be here in January whenever they sign their letter of intents later this month. And you've got to remember, you've got JUCO defensive end Jaden Jones as well, who is one of the top junior college prospects, recovering from an ACL injury right now. But he shared with us last month that it sounds like he'll be a full go, be limited in the spring, but he'll be a full go before fall camp for Florida State. So that's another potential guy off the edge room that could make a big impact for Florida State. So I think you've just got to be really excited with the way that room is going. You've got some veterans in there. You've got some young talent in there. I mean, man, with the way Patrick Payton is playing, 2023 might be Patrick Payton's year. The kid has had a tremendous back half of the 2022 season and, got some increased time due to some injuries along the defensive line. If Verse was to go and Patrick Payton comes back and he's a bona fide starter from day one, could be a hell of a campaign for PP in 2023.
Hey guys, this is Logan. Definitely appreciate you for watching the entire video. If you wouldn't mind, definitely hit that like button down below. Leave a comment on what you thought about the video, and make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you guys haven't yet either, make sure you're signed up on our Patreon. This is where we're giving our inside news, inside nuggets, recruiting scoop, and so much more daily. You guys can sign up for that at patreon.com/NoleGameday. It's the cheapest option out of any outlet covering Florida State athletics right now at $2.99 a month. I highly suggest going to check it out. Once again, patreon.com/NoleGameday. Come hang out with us. See you guys there, and thank you for watching.